Hey everyone, this is Dana Silvestri, and today I'm excited to interview one of my most recent successful clients, Meri. Meri went from not knowing what steps to take or how to break through her fears to becoming more confident, a leader in conducting her first in-person seminar. They've joined me today to talk about how they were able to do that. Thanks so much for coming on, Meri. So Meri, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of like what you do.
All right, my name is Meri Lynch, and I am a realtor in North Carolina around the Raleigh area.
Amazing, amazing. And what big problem were you dealing with before joining the program?
I knew that I wanted to do a lot more, but I had fears that were holding me back, and I did not know how to break through those fears.
Awesome. And if you could go a little deeper on like what kind of fears were you having?
It was a lot to do with my confidence. I knew that what I wanted to do, but I did not have that confidence. I didn't think of myself as that kind of a person. So I had to change how I thought about myself.
Okay, so you knew what you wanted to get done. I think as you mentioned, we kind of formulate goals as well. And then you realized that the way that the habits you had, the way of thinking, and the kind of actions you were taking were now aligned with that outcome. So a big thing was gaining more confidence in that process, and also kind of aligning all your thoughts, feelings, and actions so you can get different results, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And would you say like, so it's a lot of mindset things, which obviously is tied to the actions. So would you say that that was like kind of really holding you back from taking you to that next level in your business, in the business and whatnot, in your life overall?
Oh, it was definitely holding me back because I had certain, you know, paradigms that were blocking me. I kept saying to myself, oh, that's not me, or I'm not that kind of a person. And I really needed to change how I thought and say, oh, you know what? I can be that person. And what steps do I need to take to become that person
I
who
love
does?
that. I love that. And like, some of my story with like the speaking and everything and being shy. And it's really, the truth is you can transform it. You are that person at a core. So that's like the beauty of this type of work and this program. And
Right.
also like what I help people with is just bringing that to the surface, the power within us. So Meri, why did you choose to work with me specifically over all other programs and maybe other coaches that maybe contacted you or that you contacted?
Well, I had a friend of mine who told me I should follow you, which I started doing. And then I went to, I think, two of your free workshops. And after working with you, I knew that there was something about you that I would be comfortable working with you. And that's why I chose to work with you.
I love that. Do you remember what workshops they were? Were they like the 5-day events or like?
The 5 day, yeah.
Yeah, two. I think you went to two of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
those are awesome, and that's why I put out a lot of kind of those free things, or just to get people to see that can actually help, or if we're a good fit, or in the type of material on top of that. Because like the coaching industry, or consulting industry, it's like, as you know, like we've worked together. It's very intensive in the sense you get to know each other. You're going into each other's lives, working on goals, and you can't share that kind of information with a lot of people. So I really like that you mentioned that. And what did you like most about the program, and why did it work so well for you?
I really liked the repetition because when I hear something over and over again, I felt each time I was getting so much more. I was coming to it with a different mindset and I was more open. And sometimes I heard stuff that I didn't even know was in there before. So I really started to change the more I listen it to the same material over and over, but listening to it differently.
That's amazing. And repetition is the mother of skill. So it's really, like we mentioned before, talking right now is the knowing doing gap. Like it's part of the program too, is
Yes.
everyone's knowing more and gathering more information. And sometimes, yes, that's good, but at what point are you taking those actions? So it was a different approach here. It's repetition that can change the paradigm. And the paradigm,
Right.
as you know, but for the listeners or the watchers, is, you know, it's a mental program that's controlling your habitual way of acting, thinking, and everything overall. You know, it controls your logic, amount of money you earn, your relationships, everything in your business, your productivity, everything. So I love that you mentioned that, and that's why it goes so deep into that. It's a little bit unlogical, our approach, as you know, like the materials. Like I always told you, most people don't have access to this, and most people don't have a goal, and most people don't have a goal and then write it down. Actually, 97% of people don't, and obviously that's an estimate, but I think it's around there. So Meri, what were your results from implementing what we teach in the program?
I have been able to do things that I really did not see myself doing before. Um, I've really lost some of that fear, and I've lost the fear of failing, because I don't look at failure as failure anymore. I look at it as a learning process. So I'm not afraid to put myself out there, because if I fail, I just learn from it, and then I move on from that.
Isn't that exciting? It's turning fear into excitement.
Yes.
So it's like you, the more you try, the more you learn, the more you feel. It's not failure, so it's actually growth. It's like a whole different it's a whole different way of thinking. And if you can talk specifically, I know about like being a better leader in that sense, having more confidence, like we discussed, and the seminar. You know, you were able to put a seminar on the calendar, and now you're in that process as well. So if you could talk a little bit more about kind of those results and the results that you got.
I like it because I have gotten such positive feedback from what I'm trying to do. And I've gotten so much support that initially I didn't know what kind of response I was going to get. But the more I talk to people about it, the more I feel like I know I'm doing the right thing. And I am so happy that I took that step. And it makes me see that when I want to do something like this again, I can do it. And I know that I am able to do what I think about. If I think about it, I can do it.
Right. And it's a repeatable process, which is awesome. So it's like, now whenever those things come up in your life, you're able to just repeat the strategies, the tools, and everything, that the way of thinking, essentially, the mindset, and obviously strategies like we mentioned. You can repeat that over and over for the rest of your life. So I think that's very powerful in that sense. And then you mentioned too, on a few of the coaching calls, is that people were actually like we have certain parts of the program we're working on, and I'm guiding you through that process, obviously, and helping with that a little bit to make it more deeper. That's why it's so important to have a coach or consultant with material, and not just do it yourself programs. But you mentioned the big thing is people around you were starting to like notice, or they'd come up to you, and you see more opportunity. So if you could just go quickly about like even doing this program and working with myself, more opportunity came to you in a sense, like, or maybe you were aware of the opportunity, able to take action on it, something within that, right?
Yes, I have people who are looking at me differently and seeing, my potential, and reaching out to me to do different things with them, where before I don't think I would have had those opportunities, but because I'm presenting myself in a different way, that's opening myself up to a lot of different opportunities. Because when other people, if they're looking for someone to work with, they see me as someone who is able to do that. So it has really expanded so many different areas of my life.
I love that. And then just as well, your life personally, how do you feel internally now? Because obviously a big part of my work too is we work from the inside out. You know, we work on ourselves, and then our results, circumstances, people, amount of money you earn, all that stuff is going to transform over time. So how are you feeling on yourself, like on a daily basis, when maybe you have a thought now and you know you should do that thing like we talked about, like you know you should do those in-person seminars, or you know that you should go to that networking, or you should take this action in your business, your life. Now something switched a little bit. So now I know you touched base on it. I just want to go a little bit deeper, that now instead of it just being straight out fear, like what are you feeling now?
Now I'm really stopping and looking at things differently and evaluating things differently. And I am working at a deeper level from the inside out, because I know that if I change the inside, the outside will change. And I'm looking at situations where I may have said, just shut down, and looking at the positive, because one thing I've really learned is there's always a positive out of a negative. And I've learned to turn that around in my life and look at all the positives that come from everything that you go through in life.
Right. And that's the law of polarity. So you learned a lot about like those nature's laws that kind of guide our lives and how to use that in your own
Right.
benefits as well. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And where do you think you'd be today if if you hadn't joined the program?
If I hadn't joined the program, I feel like I would be almost floundering, like knowing what I want to do, but not really getting there, and probably reading a lot of self-help books that might help temporarily, but not help me implement those changes.
I love you said that. Like I said before, that's the biggest thing is we sometimes trick ourselves, and I'm guilty of it too. Don't worry. But everyone watching this, you always look for the next book, but it's time. It's time to take action. Don't wait another year. Don't wait 5 years, 10 years. But we can only say that, and that brings us into kind of the final question here. So imagine there's someone watching this right now, and they're on the fence of booking a call to speak to me about the program. What would you say to them?
I would say to them how I thought about this program. Like, if I wanted to take a college course to better myself in something, I wouldn't think twice about paying that money, because I know I'm learning and I'm bettering myself. So I just looked at this as an investment in myself, and who better to invest in than in myself.
I love that. And it's funny how, I mean, nothing wrong with college. I went to college and everything, but it's funny. People pay a lot for college. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know how much it is now, 50,000 a year or something for the top schools and stuff. But then after college, and I've told you this before, is most people don't invest a dollar into themselves outside of like their own choice. So I love that you said that. It is an investment in yourself, but there's a return on investment, whether that's saving time, or very deep on top of that, earning more money, very deep on top of that, feeling better on a daily basis so you can do all that. I mean, that's at the end of the day, how we feel every day is really living, I think. Like if we can live in a beautiful state, if we can feel good and we're taking actions, that's really living. But thank you so much, Meri. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks again, Meri, for letting me interview you. So if you're watching this right now and you're interested in working together, you have any questions about the program, you just want to chat, then I want you to book a call right now by clicking the link that I'll provide here, so that we can have a chat. On this call, we're going to figure out a couple of things. Number one is, what's your goal? For establishing a goal. What's holding you back, and getting clear on how to fix that. So book your call now before the calendar fills up. And again, Meri, thank you so much. And obviously we're going to talk soon, and I'm excited about the seminar and everything else, and the path of growth now. So, I mean, you're not saying you weren't on a path of growth, but I'm just excited for the outcome. That's my favorite part of being in this industry as well.
Well, thank you, Dana.